I try to avoid conflict, but I love to get my characters in as much trouble as possible. I think that makes me a writer. Welcome to Jenn's Writing World. If you've got a story to tell, you're in the right place. Let's do it together, 10 minutes at a time. Well, today is day 4 of Camp Nanowrimo. It is also Easter, so happy Easter, everyone. Today we are joined by Alfred's Tale. We'll see how long he sticks around. You might wonder why I have my cats in most of my videos. Well, one, I don't have a very big house and they do run all over it. But also in my office, that is where their food and water is. So it would be really unfair to shut the door on them. Also, right there is a large window that looks out onto our front yard. My kitties are indoor only because there are many mean cats out there. So they get to look outside through the windows, and I don't want to begrudge them that either. So you get to see my cats. Also, as we all know, cats and books just go together. So I feel like they have a place in this channel. All right. Everybody knows that a story needs conflict, but it is amazing how often we forget to put conflict in. A story can be as simple as, I sat down, I had lunch, I got up, I did the dishes, I left the room. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, and things happen. But that's not a story that anybody would want to read. Why? It has no conflict. Instead, if I had a story that said, I sat down to eat lunch, but the soup was cold and the microwave didn't work, and my little sister stole all the oyster crackers, and then my mom came in and told me I didn't have time for lunch because I hadn't done my homework, and I had a test this afternoon, and was I studying for it, and now I'm really hungry, and I leave the room, and how am I going to study because I'm so hungry, and why can't the microwave be fixed? Well, those are all conflicts now. They're not necessarily earth-shattering conflicts, and that may not be what you want your story to be like. But, depending on the type of story you're writing, that may be exactly the kind of conflict that your story needs. And that is the point of conflict. It's easy to say story is conflict. But I think in a lot of cases, we think big conflict. We think fighting Voldemort conflict. We think World War II conflict. But you know, that kind of conflict is easy. It's easy to write, it's understandable. But conflict can be small also. Conflict can be, my soup is cold. Imagine the 3 little bears. Their soup was cold. It was a problem. It can also be internal. I want to eat my lunch, but I know I need to study, and my mom is on my case, and why can't she leave me alone? And all kinds of thoughts. That can be conflict. Conflict can be not external, but it can be internal. One of the easiest ways to do conflict is to have a person want 2 separate things. For example, I want to eat a hot soup for lunch, but I want to study for my test. Apparently I can't do both, especially with the microwave not working. And so you have to choose one, and that choosing causes conflict. Now, as I said, is this the best example ever? No. Your book probably has better examples. Or you might have scenes in which there is no conflict, in which literally a character sits down, has soup, gets up, goes on with their day. Now, there may have been conflict in the scene before, there may be conflict in the scene after, and so you'd be like, hey, I just want to give the guy a break and let him have a bowl of soup. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that is, depending on what you're writing, you don't want to give your characters a break. They get a break at the end when there is a resolution. And of course, if we could turn the next page, there'd be another conflict. But let me give you a beautiful example of conflict that never lets up. And that would be The Hobbit. I haven't seen the movies, but just a few months ago, I reread the book, read it out loud to my husband, actually enjoyed it much more than I remembered enjoying it when I read it as a kid. But talk about conflict. Poor Bilbo Baggins is living a nice, comfortable life, and like on page 2, there's a knock at the door. And from that point on, Every single scene has conflict. He never gets a break. He never gets to breathe. When you think he's going to get a break, when you think that maybe, oh, this is the time where he gets to go and take a nap and breathe, nope, something happens. And every scene is conflict. And because of that, you begin to root for the Hobbit. You begin to sympathize with him. Why can't he just get a day off? Why can't he just have a cup of tea? Well, if he had the cup of tea, you wouldn't be rooting for him anymore. You'd be like, oh, good, he got his cup of tea. And now the tension is broken. And so instead, if you keep the conflict going, if every scene has conflict, whether it's little conflict, large conflicts, maybe he needs a break from the large conflict. So enter a subplot in that has a little conflict. The large conflict could be that you have a test in a few hours and you haven't studied for it. The small conflict could be that the soup is cold and the microwave is broken. So at that moment with the soup, maybe they don't have to think about the test. They thought, oh, I'm going to take 15 minutes, not think about this test looming over my head, and you introduce new conflict. So repeat after me. Story is conflict. In real life, we want to just sit down and have a bowl of soup. And the microwave works and it's nice and hot and we move on with our day and we get those breaks. But in your story, don't let up. Conflict, 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 and it will make the ending, when there is finally no conflict, very satisfying. Well, now that we've talked about conflict forever, why don't we go write about it? 10 minutes of writing is coming up. All right, so today we're going to focus on conflict, make sure we have lots of it in our story, right? My cats are giving me lots of conflict. They are looking out the window. I don't know what they see. Deer, cats, imaginary beings. I have no idea. But if you do hear some meowing, it is from the cats. But no matter the distractions, we're all going to write for 10 minutes. I have my timer, so let's get going. 3, 2, 1, start. Well, conflict-wise, this was more of an informational section, but in my second draft, I will definitely go back and give you potential conflict. Ideas that maybe this teacher that we think is super sweet might not be, or make him super sweet so that everyone can be surprised later on when he turns out to be the villain. I haven't decided which way I'm going to go yet. All right, I hope you enjoyed your 10 minutes of writing. Hope you had lots of conflict in it. I find that conflict is actually easier to write than the boring parts because conflict drives a story. If you feel your story is stagnating and lacking conflict, well, my friend Kyle has a solution. Blow something up. That's a surefire way to get some conflict into the story. Maybe it doesn't work for you, but it can be metaphorical too. Well, I hope you will join me tomorrow. If you want to get notifications whenever a new video comes out, you can subscribe down below and hit the little bell. And if you enjoyed today's write-in, I hope you will give me a like. Always appreciated. And as always, share this with your friends. Today is Easter. It's only the 4th. There's plenty of writing to be left to do this month, and I would love to have more and more people join us on our 10-minute writing adventures. All right, today's quote is from Jane Smiley, a Pulitzer Prize winner for fiction. And this is what she says. My motivation for writing has always been curiosity. I prefer to write about things that I know a little about, but not a whole lot about. Then, when I write the novel, it becomes completely interesting to me because I'm finding out about things I didn't know before. I think curiosity drives a lot of writers. And one of the fun things about conflict is it can increase your curiosity because you want to know, why is there conflict? How is there conflict? Who is the conflict about? And how can we resolve it? And curiosity will help you answer all of those questions. So long from Jenn's writing world, and until next time, write, write, write.